Now we shift to a voice grounded in art, neuroscience, and ancestral wisdom, showing how healing, justice, and joy can go hand in hand. Our next pioneer speaker is Claudia Morales. Claudia Morales, a psychotherapist, social worker, and community advocate, is a queer femme of mixed ancestry rooted in Colombian diasporic traditions and indigenous wisdom, drawing on art, poetry, and neuroscience. Claudia integrates ancestral knowledge with liberation centered practices to support LGBTQIA plus and immigrant communities. Tonight, she shares her commitment to justice, transformation, and joy, and how collective healing becomes an act of resistance. Please welcome Claudia.
Thank you so much, Parker, and thank you to all my peers from Cal State East Bay. I grew up in Newark back when, before the dot-com boom, when there was a lot of grass and horses, and felt really connected to the nature in that. Um, my mother is an immigrant from Colombia, and my dad immigrated from Canada. And she always surrounded me with this beautiful art that you see here, and these figures that represent my ancestors. And so even though my upbringing was more, it wasn't really so much rooted in my ancestral traditions, um, those always helped me remember who I really was. And my mom actually went to Cal State Hayward when I was a child to show me that she can get a degree in Colombia, immigrate, and get a degree here. So she created all these beautiful ceramics and paintings. And so that's my grandmother, and that's me. This art always reminded me, first of all, of the feel of connecting to ancestor through action. And like Shanti, I eventually stumbled across interfaith community organizing, which was really fascinating because I got to learn some of the truths that were underlying all religions. I got to have teachers such as Heather McGee and John Powell, and that really opened my mind about a lot of the injustices in the US. And I also made very deep connections in the very neighborhood that I grew up and felt disconnected from, but through those relationships, it really deepened my connection. Um, I was so fortunate to go to Cal State East Bay because I wanted to do something with a calling. I did want to do art, and I always process feelings through art. However, the leaders would always share very deep stories with me, traumatic stories. And while the political action has a lot of importance and a lot of value, I also found it that I didn't have the tools to really help people. I also had a 1 and a 3-year-old when I started my graduate program. And this is not something I recommend to anybody, but there were other moms there that were like really, really surviving even more than me, but it was quite a struggle. However, it did come at such a wonderful time because I got to deepen my parenting skills. In my social work program, I learned about stages of development and intergenerational healing, not only through the coursework, but through my peers and my colleagues in the class and the professors that came from all walks of life. I want to specifically shout out Terry Jones, Dr. Terry Jones, who founded our social work program, and he was a civil rights leader. So it was just such an honor to do this work and to automatically be practicing this liberation focused type of therapy, that I was able to integrate all of my passion for social justice, for art, for healing, and now having concrete tools to reprocess trauma. So after I graduated from Cal State East Bay with my master's in social work, I've moved to LA to be close to my partner's family, and have worked in all stages of life from early childhood to end of life. And now I have the honor and privilege of really integrating all my passions. I have my private practice, and this is where I provide virtual therapy. I take Kaiser Insurance, and I also work with organizations such as Catalyst, the LA Library Foundation, with the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, because we have to do a lot of healing concurrently, right, as we support our communities. So, yeah, so this is my story. I hope you also find ways to be in congruence with your values, with your education, with your community, because now then more than ever, we need to be honest with ourselves and with our communities in order to build who we need to be after this. And Norma Wong, I really recommend her reading. She's an Indigenous woman from Hawaii, and she says that see the type of things you need to build for the people 150 years from now, for the babies that have yet to be born, and live each day and each moment accordingly, with this strong commitment, this strong accountability. So I do believe that through our education and through this congruence and through mutual care, we're going to build something so much better than what we're living through right now. But Cal State East Bay was such a fundamental, really core way that I was able to propel myself from previously really struggling financially. In fact, when I started the program, we actually lived in a really horrible living situation with like rats and everything. Now, many years later, we have a little more autonomy, but most importantly, I am doing work that I really value and I always get fed from, I always grow from. So thank you to all of you for having me here. And I look forward to hearing about your stories as well.